Hi, my name's Amy Raddick. I teach sixth grade science at the Innovation Academy, and I'm going to go over flipped classrooms and accountability. And not just flipped classrooms, but a flipped virtual classroom. So, what that also can look like. So, first, to make this make sense to you guys, I want to go over how I teach when the kids are physically in front of me. And I do apologize, I am filming this in my home. So, if you hear my dogs or see them or if they're barking like crazy, I apologize for that. And as you can see, students' emails are coming in as well. So my medium of choice for making videos was always Screencastify, but in all honesty, I didn't really do a ton of research on different forms of video platforms. So there's way more than just Screencastify. Uh, it does allow you to make unlimited videos if you pay $30 for the year as a teacher. But like I said, there's other ones you can check out just by basic Google searches. I picked this one just because it's the first one I came up on, and I said, great, awesome. So bad research on my end. But anyway, a flipped classroom for me is giving students the flexibility to learn at their own pace. Now, specifically, I'm a science teacher, and I know, but I know the same struggle goes within all rounds. And I've taught in both middle and high school, so I'm coming with both of those backgrounds, where you are in front of the classroom talking at your pace, and it's either reaching, like you look at your students, and you know, like the few that the pace works for them, and they're getting it, and they're successful. The medium few that tend to daydream or they need a little brain break, but you just keep going anyway. And then the other portion who needs you to be slower and you just can't be because you're catering to everyone in the room. So I chose to change to a flipped classroom because it allowed the students to be flexible enough to move within their own pace through my curriculum. But it's still me teaching. That part was really important. I didn't want to do a flipped classroom where it wasn't me giving the instruction to my students. So this is the way that I have decided to do it. And I'm going to show you how I flipped it to be virtual. Okay, so what you see in front of you is a book that I'm making of all my students' curriculum. And this book has introduction in physical science. Physical science tends to be I always like to start with the tougher subjects when I'm teaching note-taking skills and we're just kind of diving in how to do a flipped classroom. Because at the end of the year, when they get to the easier stuff and they're kind of flying through that because they got it now, that gives us time to review what we did at the beginning of the year. This year, obviously, is going to be a little bit different, but it gives, again, that flexibility for those students. So this is standard 6P21, which just means sixth grade physical science, standard 2, substandard 1. So I have 21 total standards. So I have 21 total sections in my book. As you can see, I start out with the notes being very scaffolded, fill in the blanks. It shows them how the notes should look, bullet point form, no full sentences, nitty gritty. They're not writing everything that's on the screen. I'm trying to teach them summarizing skills. And so this is about atoms. So they will get something just like this, where they see me at the bottom. I surveyed my students and they really, 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 really wanted to have my picture at the bottom. They struggled when they didn't see me. They couldn't pay attention, and there was a disconnect between just my voice and actually seeing me. Yes, they'll take screenshots and email them to you, and yes, they will giggle about the funny faces that you make, and that's fine because that's me. So I'd rather them do that. And then, so let's say, for example, student A, we'll name him Tommy. Tommy fills this out, takes all his notes, completes the big idea at the bottom, which is the only section in the notes that I require full sentences on reviewing. And then he would, if this was in the classroom, this is when he would come up and see me. So I'm around the room conferencing, I'm moving around the room the whole time. And a lot of times, even sometimes I have a little mini line, and that's okay, because I literally conference with every kid the moment they finish an assignment. So he would come up to me, I would review it, and then when they're done, I would sign it. So that's what this little section up here is for. Ooh, I'm messing it up. Hold on. Sorry. This is where I would sign it and say like, okay, great job. Now you can move on to the next thing. So if we like scroll down, the next thing is another set of notes. And you can see I even put pictures in here. So like science notes, math, those things, You need imagery. You need things for them to visualize. And then now we have like a literacy assignment. So the directions are up there, the item number. They would read this and then answer the questions at the bottom. And this is taking a nonfiction text and kind of personifying it. So we're kind of merging both worlds. I do a lot of literacy practices within science. I do a lot of math practices within science, but everything's in this book and it's printed for them. So like now they have a crossword. And what I would do is when they finish this, they come up and show me. And if I actually grade for correction at this point, I would check to see what was right or wrong. And then if something they had wrong, I would send them back to retry. If they came back again and it was still wrong, that's when we would sit down and have a one-on-one. So it allows me to kind of see how students are meeting proficiency, at what rate they meet proficiency at, and what type of resources or extra aid do they need to hit that proficiency level. But I never give the correct answer. I just give strategies on how to find them. So this is like an example of what a standard would look like. And again, everything's in the book. When you're switching to this, especially now that's virtual, I can't meet with the students face to face anymore, but we have meetings set aside for Zoom. So if I have a student, like for example, is really stuck on this Venn diagram and just cannot do it and is spiraling out of control and the anxiety is taking over, we would meet, even virtually, either through Zoom or email, GChat. We would find a way to meet, especially since they're going to be doing this work at home. A lot of times when parents try to help, that adds to the anxiety of the student because they want to hear it from their teacher. They're so used to hearing it from their teacher. And when parents chime in, it can kind of crisscross messages and add some anxiety for those students. So you definitely need to set time aside, and you need to allow them to send screenshots and pictures via email to you. And my Zoom is huge. So I'm going to click to the screen and switch us up. So if we look, this is my science tab. So these are the times I've set aside for students once a week to bring all those questions to the table. So, and I also don't want them to get stuck on something and then just stop working. Hop ahead, work ahead, see if you can come back, see if the forward helps you with the back. Or if it doesn't, that's fine. We'll just meet here and we can talk about it here. That's totally fine. So the conferencing, I had to get a little creative on how to switch it up. But because I flip my classroom and because I allow them to move at their own pace, the flexibility of this is not that big of a deal. And guys, you've done this. You have everything you need. You've made all the activities. You've made all the notes. All you have to do is just somehow get that information to them. And I highly suggest doing it with the complement of you in the video. Math teachers, I have friends that have done it where they use the drawing app on here, and they just open up a blank Google and they write their math and do their practice problems that way. I've had some friends that do it recording from their phone. So they just like turn it and talk to them and then turn and look at their paper, and they would write on their paper the practice problems. And for any other subject, even art, you can do this and be drawing with them. Like they could be working with you as you're going through it. If you're doing content heavy things like science and social studies, what I'm doing would work beautiful for you. Again, and I've taught that middle and high school. The only experience I don't have is with elementary. I feel like with elementary, you would just need way more times for the students to kind of check in with you, and not just the students, the parents to check in with you as well. Okay, so this is the setup. As you move through the books, you see they change slightly. So like notes are really scaffolded here. As I hop to earth science, they are scaffolded, so like I gave them the main topics and then they go from there. And then life science, which is what I'm still currently building in my book right now, and I'll have that ready by the end of the week for all my students, it's blank. So like they now have to take everything they learned and kind of fill in the notes themselves, which is kind of cool. Okay, so let me show you what a sample video looks like. Okay, I'll bring you into this tab. So this is like, to do this too, you have to be very organized in your Google Drive. Do not add stress to your life just when you make something and it's not where it's supposed to be. So like all these screencastifys I've made are put in the specific standard that they're supposed to be in. So that way, when I'm putting together how I'm delivering it to the students, you know, I don't have to search for things, which would get very frustrating, especially since this is new for a lot of teachers out there. I deliver my curriculum via a website called Resly. I made a separate video on that. You can do this via Google Classroom. You can do this by daily emails. You can do this via Classcraft. Some of them cost money, some don't. If this is your first time, maybe starting out with Google Classroom would be easier for you, but please make sure you are very specific in your chunking. You do not want to give an assignment, even to high schoolers, that say, okay, do this, then this, then this, then this, then this, then this, and watch this video, this video, this. Don't do that. Make separate assignments for every single video you're delivering. And I'm going to kind of show you an example of that. So if you look, like I have leaf adaptations and protections, and then here I have just leaves. I could have easily have put those in the same video, but I didn't on purpose because I wanted the students to feel micro successes that lead to big successes. So they learn about just what a leaf is, period. And they finish that quest. They feel good about knowing what a leaf is. Then they dive into leaf adaptations and protections. It's a separate quest. It's a separate classroom assignment. It's a separate email. It allows the students to kind of see, okay, we learned this, now I'm going to learn this. And you have those little micro successes. Even in high school, this works, I promise. So I'm going to show you what an example video looks like. So this was filmed actually 2 years ago.
Hopefully we're working. All right, item number...
And you can see
244. So we're going to be going over leaf adaptation.
And I try to be real with the kids too. Like I put my sunglasses on for a few of it just to be funny. My dogs are sleeping on the couch in the background. Having those little personal touches, it makes the students feel more comfortable coming up to you to ask questions. That's another reason why I think videoing yourself is so important. If I was videoing or using someone else's videos all the time, the students aren't necessarily going to feel as comfortable coming up to you to ask the questions about them because you didn't deliver the curriculum. So I definitely highly suggest making yourself a part of the flipped classroom experience. It adds that level of personality, relatability. It just makes the students more at ease. And again, even at the high school age, this is true. So let's see this video. So we go through
much life packed into such a small space. These plants are in competition with each other. Sunlight it can capture. Yeah. It's up there.
So, and then I just want to emphasize, look how long this video is. It's 5 minutes and 43 seconds. That's it. It doesn't need to be any longer. You're going to lose them. They're going to become disinterested. They're going to want to look at other things. They're going to start daydreaming. You want your video to be at maximum 10 minutes. Now, I know I'm going over that for you guys, and I apologize, but I just want to make sure I'm hitting all the main points for you. So what I do is I just use Screencastify to make these videos just like I am now. I save them to my Google Drive, and then I make the link public so anyone can view. And I do it for anyone, not just Johnson County, just because a lot of times students will go home and they'll be logged into their parents' account. And then all of a sudden you're getting a million emails asking for permission to view this video. So I just stopped that and I just allowed students to view the videos. Now, I did at first allow students to actually see the notes. So like if I open up the actual Google spreadsheet, but what was happening was the students were just going through the Google slideshow and not listening to me teach it. So I stopped delivering the notes altogether and I only give them the video of me going over the notes. And that was a game changer because now they're forced to listen to me teach it instead of giving them the option. A lot of them would not take that option, and I wanted them to be taught by me. I wanted them to hear my voice and see my face as I delivered the information to them. Plus, a lot of times I don't put everything that I'm saying on the notes. So, I wanted to make sure they heard it all. Let's see. I also have activities. A lot of teachers are afraid to do this because they don't think they'll get their activities in. That's not true at all. Let me show you one. So this one's a little note heavy at first, but here's an activity. It's just going over how these affect plants within their biomes. Another one is a labeling activity. You saw the crosswords I do, the Venn diagrams. Let's see. This one is just a table fill in about seed dispersal, a one pager on honeybees, a flower dissection. So they can even do that at home if they wanted. And I have like Flipgrid videos available for students who do that. So like they had one make your own musical instrument and they had to make a Flipgrid video on them playing their instrument. And then they get to see each other's and comment on it. And it's a lot of fun. But the only thing I had to change from a flipped in-person classroom to a flipped virtual classroom is allowing them to conference with me online and send me emails with all the pictures of their work. I just checked someone's study guide today, and they got it 100% correct. So I'm so excited. They're going to be able to test in that standard at home. And that's the next piece of this. How do we set up a secure testing site? So I'm doing it two ways. Someone else on my team made, and there's a student right now emailing, one of my students on my team made a contract that I am then going to have a student sign before they take the test. And ideally, I would like to set up a Zoom conference where students just join in when they're ready to test. And I can send them the codes in the chat in the bottom. And they show me like there's nothing on their table in front of them. And I make the tests in Google Forms when I click the lock mode on, so it notifies me every time they click out of something else. So you can make a secure testing room virtually. And so that's my plan. I'm not going to test any of my students until March 30th. But yeah, I'm going to have a testing schedule live. They're going to be able to sign up and even take their assessments from home. So there's no stopping me from getting through all the sixth grade standards for them and getting them to seventh grade by the time they roll around. And I'm going to be planning review sessions. I'm looking up virtual escape rooms, breakout rooms. They love those. So I'm trying to find some with the 6 L's that I can play with. Let me think what else. But yeah, there's a lot of like virtual labs. There's all kinds of virtual labs for me. But what I want to really promote to teachers is you have all this made. It may not be in book form. That's okay. You may not be using a site like Resley. That's okay. You have this made. You have everything you need, unless you're a first year teacher or you're in a new standard. But you can still do this. You can 100% do this. I am here if you need help. I will gladly make a Zoom conference for anyone who would like to go over ideas. That is not a problem. I am working from home 6 to 8 hours Monday through Friday on schoolwork. So I am here if you need me. I want you to know you can do this. There are people out there that want to help you. Even if you're elementary, do not let that hold you back from reaching out. I can even try to think of some ideas with you on that. And yeah, you can do this. So my email is aimeeradic@johnson.k12.nc.us, Johnson County Public School teacher, North Carolina. Please, please, please. Virtual learning, you can do it. And I only require my students an hour every day to work on science because that's what they would be doing in school. I don't care when that hour is. That's kind of nice about the virtual flipped classroom. It allows them the flexibility at home to know when to do that hour. If they're better workers in the morning, do it in the morning. If they are more of a night owl and they need to do it in the afternoon, do it in the afternoon. That's totally fine. But yeah, you can do this. We can all do this. Let me know if you have any questions, and hopefully you found this helpful. Hi, it's me again. I totally forgot to go over one other thing that I'm going to add it to the end of the video we just did, the accountability piece. So when I tell students they have 60 minutes a day to do science, I give them a pace of around 3 to 4 quests per day. So that way they know, even if they're in standard 6P still and not 6L, they still should be completing 3 to 4 quests a day. How I hold them accountable for that is a little bit more difficult virtually. Normally in the classroom, I can just, check it and make sure I can move around the room and see who hasn't checked in with me or who has. Since I can't see them, what I'm going to do now is have them email me, and I'm going to check in with students who have not emailed me. So I'm going to have like a running list of students who have been in contact with and who I've not been in contact with. This does take a lot of work on your end, communication-wise, which can be very frustrating at first. But if you just set the groundwork and you reach out to everyone first, and I did parents and students. Now, I didn't ask for parents to respond back to me unless they had specific questions. I just kind of gave them the outline of expectations for my class. And then I gave the same information to the students. Majority of my students, out of all 100, I probably have 90% right now doing just that. So for my to-do list this week, I'm to reach out to the other 10%. Don't let the communication barrier freak you out. But I'm telling students to email me every single thing that needs checked. So that's pretty much everything that's not notes. So vocab, study guides, everything that I need to check for correction, I am having them emailed to me, which means I'm dedicating a good chunk of my day just to responding to emails. And that's okay because I'm checking that accountability piece and so are they. So I'd much rather that be the situation than not. But I just wanted to add that touch of piece to it because I know a lot of you, after I was done making the video, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even tell them how I was checking their work. And that Zoom conference can also be utilized for that as well. But yeah, definitely have some sort of way for students to show you what they're completing, even if that's turning in via Google Classroom. A lot of my coworkers are using Classroom for that accountability, piece. You have to turn in the artifact through Google Classroom to the teacher, and then they can actually grade it proficiency scale wise right there in Classroom. So it's awesome. But yeah, so I wanted to add that piece. Now I am officially done. Thank you for listening.